Crystal, hi. Welcome to the Inside Connection.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too. I'm going to do a little chart reading for you, and we're going to start in with what's called a natal chart. I'm going to be talking to you about the chart that you were born with and the energy that that chart shows, okay?
Okay.
So you know that you're a Taurus. You also have a couple of other planets in Taurus, which makes you very beautiful, and it makes you also very loyal and very, I think, a good lover of aesthetics, meaning things that are beautiful. You're a good judge of character, you have good taste. You have some significant placement of Gemini, Cancer, and also Virgo in your chart. So those things in combination make you funny, talkative, you probably love to read, you're probably very good with comedy, or you make people laugh, you know, like tell jokes. And then interestingly, there's a strong maternal element to you, you know, like you're very nurturing. I'm sure you've been accused of mothering people.
I've actually taken on like a mother role with, I guess just like younger children before.
It's interesting because in your chart, that maternal role is a part of your own personal identity. In astrology, it's based on what's called the first house. It's your femininity. It's actually the Venus and the moon, both in Cancer, both in the first house in your chart. The interpretation of that is someone who's very self-identified as a maternal person, and your desire to protect people and mother them is a part of your strong personal identity.
Right. Yeah, I actually really agree with that.
Jupiter in your chart rules your house of relationships. You're not really wanting to be in the same old rut that you might have feel like you've been in for a while. You want to say like, wow, how do I shake this off and create something new?
I actually ended a 4-year relationship this February. It was basically because I wasn't sure if that person was the one that I wanted to spend my life with. I changed my mind since then.
Does that person not want to take you back now? Is that what happened?
Yes, it's a huge problem.
If you needed that, if you needed freedom, right, and you tried to go back and this person said that they don't want you back, then they're not really the right person for you, and that's more than just a cliche. Career is incredibly important to you, and you're going to work on that because it's going to be a life journey for you. It's a very exciting one. You do have a happy relationship coming to you. It was great having you on the show. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much.
All right, sweetheart. Thanks. We'll see you again.